Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Cheva Narottanam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jamudirayat Nastavayajya Bhadresu Nityam Bhagavata Sevya Bhagavatu Tamasloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistike. We are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 4th canto, chapter 24, chanting the song sung by Lord Shiva, text 75. Shreya Sameya Sarvesham Jnanam Nishreyasam Param Sukham Tarati Dushparam Jnananarvyasanarnavam Shreyasam Maya Sarvesham Jnanam Nishreyasam Param Sukham Tarati Dushparam Jnananarvyasanarnavam Shreya Sameya Sarvesham Jnanam Nishreyasam Param Sukham Tarati Dushparam Jnananarvyasanarnavam. Word for word translation. Shreyasam of all benedictions. Iha in this world. Sarvesam of every person. Jnanam knowledge. Nishreyasam the supreme benefit. Param transcendental. Sukham happiness. Tarati crosses over. Dushparam insurmountable. Jnanam knowledge. Now both. Vyasana danger. Arnavam the ocean. Translation and purport by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. In this material world, there are different types of achievements, but all of them, the achievement of knowledge, but of all of them, the achievement of knowledge is considered to be the highest, because one can cross the ocean of nations only on the boat of knowledge. Otherwise, the ocean is impossible. Purport. Actually, everyone is suffering within this material world due to ignorance. Every day we see that a person without knowledge commits some criminal act and is later arrested and punished, despite the fact that he actually may not have been conscious of his sinful activity. Such ignorance prevails throughout the world. People do not consider how they are risking their lives in an attempt to have illicit sex life, kill animals to satisfy their tongue, enjoy intoxication and gamble. It is very regrettable that the leaders of the world do not know of the effects of these sinful activities. They are instead taking things very easily and are succeeding in making the ocean of nations wider and wider. Opposed to such ignorance, full knowledge is the greatest achievement within this material world. We can practically see that one who has sufficient knowledge is saved from many dangerous pitfalls in life. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 7:19, Bhaunam Chananam Ante Jnanavam Mam Papachate. When one actually becomes wise, he surrenders unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Vasudeva Savamiti Sa Mahatma Sudurlabha. Such a great soul is very rarely to be found. The Krishna consciousness movement is determined to open wide the eyes of the so-called leaders who are full of ignorance and thus save them from the many pitfalls and dangerous conditions of life. The greatest danger is the danger of getting a body lower than that of a human being. It was with great difficulty that we attained this human form of life, just to take advantage of this body and re-establish our relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Govinda. Lord Shiva advises, however, that those who take advantage of his prayer will very soon become devotees of the Lord Vasudeva, and thus be able to cross the ocean of nations and make life perfect. The verse once again. Shreyasam sarve samjnanam nishreyasam param sukam tarati dusparam jnananavyasanarnavam. In this material world there are different types of achievement, but all of them, the achievement of knowledge is considered to be the highest, because one can cross the ocean of nations only on the boat of knowledge. Otherwise, the ocean is impassable. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Chinanjala Shlakya Shakshran Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svyam Rupakadamayam Dodati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shiro Shiyuda Padakamalam Shirom Vaishnavamsa Shri Rupam Jagajatam Sagan Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivan Sadvaitam Savadutam Parjana Saitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sakanalita Shivishakam Vitamsha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dino Bandhu Jatpate Gopesha Gopka Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kansna Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhani Sutadevi Pranamama Haripriye Vankha Kalptra Visha Kripa Sinabe Visha Patnam Pavanabhyo Vaishnabhyo Namo Namah Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vastaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharne Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paskachai Tasatarne Srila Prabhupada Ki.
Jai.
So here we have another topic. In this verse, Lord Shiva is stressing the importance of cultivating transcendental knowledge. And he says that it's only by this that one can cross the ocean of birth and death. But we find two kinds of knowledge, at least according to Sri Isopanishad. One is material knowledge, called avidya, which means ignorance, and the other is spiritual knowledge, which is vidya, or real knowledge. By cultivating these two, we are going to get different results, and that is stated in Sri Upanishad text 10. Anya evaro vidyaya nyataro avidyaya itis susruma dhiranam yasnastat vishashakshire. The wise have explained that one result is derived from the culture of knowledge, and there is another result which is obtained from the culture of nations. So this vidya has to be heard in disciplic succession, a disciplic succession of dhiras, or those who are sober and in control of the senses. Because only such sober people can tell us clearly what is knowledge and what is ignorance. So there is a lot of confusion in the world today. In fact, the material world is characterized by confusion, but the saintly persons in the parampara can clearly tell us what is what. Then only confusion vanishes, just as darkness and fog vanishes when the sun rises. But unfortunately, people of the world mistake ignorance to be knowledge. They think that real knowledge is given in Bhagavad Gita is ignorance, some mythology. But actually, under the conception that ignorance is real knowledge, man is striving to become happy in this world on the strength of science and technology. But we can never be happy like that. This verse of Shir Upanishad clearly defeats this opposition. It is very clearly stated in the scriptures, in the Shastra. Cultivation of knowledge gives happiness, and cultivation of ignorance gives suffering. So what we call material knowledge is avidya, because it deals with matter only. Matter is unconscious. So this knowledge is called avidya. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur has prayed in one of his beautiful bhajans. He says, "This avidya is only a wonderful trap, a trap led by Maya. It is one of the expert tricks of Maya." Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that it creates an hindrance, an obstacle in the execution of devotional service, in the execution of Krishna bhajan. It makes an ass out of the living entity. It makes the living entity very foolish. Anything that is not connected with Krishna or is not on a spiritual platform is always going to delude us. And one will be unhappy because of that. So there are in this material world, this material world is also called Avidya Sagar, ocean of avidya. In this ocean of material existence, everyone is suffering. In the material world is compared to many things in the scriptures, actually. Sometimes it's compared to an ocean, sometimes it's compared to a river, sometimes to a desert, sometimes to a forest, sometimes to a tree. It gives so many examples, the scriptures, to demonstrate the nature of the world we are living in. And we see, especially in Sanskrit language, there are so many terms to express it. And it's very poetic that so in Sanskrit often the words bhava is prefixed to the ocean, indicating the condition of the material world. Bhavad Buddhim, Bhavadim, Bhavasagar, Bhavasindhu, and so on. Bhava means to become. Not bhav, but bhava. Bhav is spiritual emotion. So this is certainly not bhava sindhu, the material world. But bhava means to become. To become what? To take birth, to be born, to diseased, to become old, and to become that this is the bhava of the material world. So this is the meaning of bhava sagar or bhava sindhu. The material world is a perverted reflection of the spiritual world. In the reflection, we also see the object. Urtva mulam atasakam ashvatam prau apyayam. Shadam siyasya parnani yastam veda savedafit. So this is Bhagavad Gita, chapter 15, the Supreme Personality of God that said, it is said that there is an imperishable banyan tree that has its roots upwards and its roots upwards and so on. So it's compared to a banyan tree. So Lord Krishna explains in the 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita that the material world is like an inverted tree. The spiritual tree is the real tree, and the material tree is the opposite tree, a perverted reflection. If the material world is an ocean, then the spiritual world must also be an ocean. The material ocean is an ocean of birth, death, old age and disease, bhava sindhu. What kind of ocean is the spiritual world? This is explained in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. It is an ocean of bhakti ras. An ocean of bhakti ras to Lord Vishnu or Lord Krishna. So the ocean of nectar is pervertedly reflected on wrong desire. That's the cause of this material world, wrong desire. And that results in an ocean of poison. The ocean of nectar is pervertedly reflected upon the surface of sinful desires to result in the ocean of poison, which we call the material world, and which the world thinks to be a happy place to be in. So it is a verse in the 3rd canto, chapter 9. We discussed that yesterday evening. We had a program, and we discussed symptoms of conditioned souls. And this verse in the 3rd canto, chapter 9, says that if a living entity gets a material body, he feels very comfortable in that body, whatever body he has, the body of an animal or the body of a human. He feels comfortable, and he thinks he will be happy. Therefore, but everyone in the world, in the material world, is actually suffering in this ocean of poison. Only a fool thinks that when he's taking poison, that he's taking nectar. This is actually the condition of the people of the world. Everyone is busy taking poison, but they think they are taking nectar. So a human being, even in the midst of suffering, thinks want to be happy. So this is the ocean of suffering. We cannot avoid it. we cannot expect to be happy in this world without suffering. But everyone makes plans in that direction. There's a man who was at the ocean and he was going to take a bath. And he prepared them that and is standing at the shore of the ocean with his gamsa ready to take a bath. But he's waiting, he's there. And he's standing there waiting, already 2 hours. And a man comes, and another man comes and say, why are you waiting? You take your bath. Oh, the man said, no, I'm waiting until the waves are stopping. Then I take a bath. But of course, that will never stop the waves of misery in this world. The only solution is to surrender and to become a devotee. And Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Apsatas Babhyo Sarvabhyo Papakitam Sarvangana Plavini Vavrijnam Santarishyasi. Even if you are considered the most sinful of all sinners, when you are situated in the boat of transcendental knowledge, you will be able to cross over the ocean of miseries. So this boat of transcendental knowledge. Once we are on this boat, we will be able to cross over. And that, what is this boat? Lord Brahma prays to Lord Krishna in the 10th canto, chapter 14, text 58. Samasritaye padapalava plavam matpatam punyayaso murare pavambutur vatsa padam param padam yat vipadam natesham. For those who have accepted the boat of the lotus feet of the Lord, who is the shelter of the cosmic manifestation, and is famous as Murari, the enemy of the Mura demon, the ocean of the material world is like the water contained in a calf's hoofprint. Their goal is Parampadam, Vaikuntha, the place where there are no material miseries, not the place where there is danger at every step. So about this boat, here in Bhagavad Gita, the boat of knowledge, in the Bhagavatam, the boat of the lotus feet of the Lord. But there is a verse in the 12th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita which gives us great hope how to cross this boat. That yetu sarvani karmani maya sanyasya matpara ananyane vayogena mam deyantu pasate tesam samudarta mrityu samsara sagrat bhavami nachira parta maya avasita setasham. But those who worship me, giving up all their activities unto me, and being devoted to me without deviation, engaged in devotional service, and always meditating upon me, having fixed their mind upon me, O son of Pritha, for them I am the swift deliverer from the ocean of birth and death. So if we are always engaged in devotional service, that Krishna promises, I am the swift deliverer from the ocean of birth and death. So there's no reason to be ever depressed in devotional service. Krishna will ultimately save us. That so because this knowledge is important, transcendental knowledge. If we don't have transcendental knowledge, we cannot discriminate what's good, what's bad, what we should do, what we should not do in devotional service. And that is a characteristic of the demons described in chapter 16 of Bhagavad Gita. That the difference is that the devotees, they accept the scriptures and follow the scriptures, where demons or all the other conditioned souls, they act whimsically. That when one is one is only absorbed in this avidya, one cannot understand one's identity, where one comes from, where one goes. That one takes rebirth. That how this transmigration of the soul work. It requires a great amount of knowledge. That and therefore Lord Shiva, he says one can cross the ocean of nations only by the boat of knowledge. Of course, the boat of knowledge means also that refers to Vidya. Vidya is transcendental knowledge, but transcendental knowledge has only its use for us if we know the practical value, bring it in practice and realize it. And it is factually Krishna who gives us the realization. Tesham evanakampatam amma jnana chamtamanasa jamatma bhavastu jnana dipena bhasvata. Krishna gives us the realization from within the heart, and that cleanses our heart of all this avidya. That because the cause of our being conditioned is avidya, and that is the first sentence of the purport. Prabhupada says, actually everyone is suffering within this material world due to ignorance. That so people commit so many criminal acts, Prabhupada says, without their knowledge. That people do not know that if they commit sinful activities, they will suffer. They even don't know what sinful activities are. No idea. When I was a Christian, you learn something about sinful activities. You should be truthful, you should not lie, you should not steal, and all these things. But the deeper philosophical ground of that is just missing. The fact that we are not a proprietor of everything, that we are not a factual enjoyer, only a secondary enjoyer. This is knowledge in relation to our original position as a spirit soul and how to act as a spirit soul. It's not in the Bible, it's not in other scriptures. This is really found only in the Vedas, that at least explained in a profound way, and therefore only the Vedas can give us this real vidya, this jnana, then people do not consider how they are risking their lives in an attempt to have illicit sex life, kill animals to satisfy their tongue, enjoy intoxication, and gamble. And that risking their lives and Prabhupada explained in this purport the greatest calamity is that one becomes an animal again. But we see that modern society is sending everyone at an enormous speed to the animal kingdom. They prepare them for that. And that's very, very much regrettable. People are becoming more and more unhappy that we speak about technical or technical advancement, but what is the result? Unhappy people, unsatisfied people. And it is very regrettable that the leaders of the world do not know of the effects of these sinful activities. Therefore, in the Vedic system, the leader of the country should be a Bhagavat, a saintly king, self-realized. But who is running the country today? What is their character? Do they have spiritual character, good qualities? They have undoubtedly many material qualities, but spiritual qualities, divine qualities, is of another category. It's said in the Bhagavatam, Koruna Sasya Jananina Sasya, this verse that begins with these words, one cannot be a guru, one cannot be even a relative. That's very interesting. One cannot be a father or a mother and so on if one cannot deliver one's descendants from the ocean of birth and death. So these are high qualifications to take the post of a ruler. And Prabhupada says it's very regrettable. Factually, Kali Yuga is topsy-turvy. The lowest people come on the top. The Sudras are running the world. And the Brahmins, they are considered low class beggars. It's just the opposite. And therefore Prabhupada writes that instead taking things very easily and are succeeding in making the ocean of nations wider and wider. So yes, that people are encouraged to enjoy in various ways and expand their propensities for exploiting matter, exploiting others, and more suffering is the result. That the ocean of nations becomes wider and wider. Of course, then Srila Prabhupada speaks in the purport about that opposed to such ignorance is full knowledge. This is also mentioned in Bhagavad Gita, this full knowledge, this Bhagavad Gita 7.2, Jnanantyam savijnanam idam vakshashishata, Yat-yat-vanya bhunya jnanatavyam avashishati. I shall now declare unto you this full knowledge, both phenomenal and numinous, thus being known, nothing further shall remain for you to know. It's important to see that this so-called scientific knowledge and so on, what is the result? On what is it based? The underlying principle of material knowledge is that we are the body, and everything is based on that. That it is, yeah, it remains, yeah. When you have a zero and you put many zeros in front, it remains zero. That they cannot come to a conclusion that makes sense. Because the basis of their knowledge is wrong. And that so we can practically see that one who has sufficient knowledge is saved from many dangerous pitfalls in life. So Prabhupada says, if you have knowledge is power, gives you the power to see things in a right perspective. And we see that if we come in contact with the Bhagavad Gita, we learn about the three modes, the effects of the three modes. And the devotee lives in the mode of goodness, very clean, and tries also with his consciousness to act in goodness without being attached to the results, that do things at the right place at the right time, without expecting results for oneself. Of course, this in the mode of goodness, in the mode of on the transcendental platform, we are doing everything for the pleasure of Krishna, which is a higher platform than the mode of goodness. Because, like in Bhagavad Gita, it's karmani evatakarste mafalishkatajana. You must do everything without being attached to the results. Don't be attached to the results. But it's very difficult. Practically, who can do that in this world? But if you do it for the pleasure of Krishna, you have a clear goal. Without the goal, it's difficult to become detached. But if the goal is Krishna, it becomes easy. It becomes easy, you have a goal, and you become automatically or gradually purified from all these attachments. And that's the wonder of devotional service. Only Krishna can do that. That we are engaging in service, and Krishna takes us attachments away. But yes, Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada quotes this verse often. Bhaunam jnanamante jnanam prabhachate. One who is really a truthful seeker, he will come to that point of devotional service and accepting Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And this is also we found in Shisa Upanishad. In Shisa Upanishad you have a spiritual seeker, and is praying at the end of the Shisa Upanishad, "Oh my Lord, take away your transcendental effulgence, please reveal yourself to me. That I want to know you, please reveal yourself to me." It was in the 80s, I was a Christian, I was an altar boy, I was doing so much service in the Christian church also. So I was very religious. but I remember I went to the church and I was praying to God, please reveal yourself to me. I want to know you. I want to know the truth. I want to know you. And then a few weeks later, I got an invitation to attend a lecture of Swami. And that was my contact with my first real contact with the Hare Krishna movement. And so Krishna reciprocates with you if you have if you are a seeker, if you want really to know sincerely the truth. And that is also mentioned in Bhagavad Gita, Chaturvichamba Jantamam Yechna Sukritariona, Arta Shignash Artati Jnana, Jnanisa Paratarshava. There are four kinds of people who approach Krishna for release of distress, or they are curious, they want wealth, or they want to know the absolute truth. And the fourth category, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, this jnani who wants to know the absolute truth is the best. Because that's a sincere seeker, he wants to know the absolute truth. But such a soul, it is said, it is rarely found. And most devotees, they came to the movement as sincere seekers. And that makes devotees so special. Because Krishna does not give this knowledge very easily in the material world. Everyone, the Bhagavad Gita is there, everyone can read it. But who can understand it? That it's such a rare thing to understand Bhagavad Gita as it is. And Prabhupada gave us Bhagavad Gita as it is, and its purports are so potent that it brings us out of ignorance, but there is a condition. Prabhupada says in the introduction of Bhagavad Gita, he says in the introduction of Bhagavad Gita, one should at least accept theoretically that Krishna is God. And then, when one reads Bhagavad Gita, one can start to understand it, but theoretically. So it means one must give up one's envy, that just that possibility. Maybe it's true, yes, let's read it. And then Krishna gives you this knowledge from the heart, because you have some faith in him. Because Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, in two places in Bhagavad Gita, said, that unless one has faith, one cannot achieve this perfection. And that for the faithless, there is no happiness in this world, not in the next, Krishna says. Faith is very important, because Krishna sees that in our heart. So the Krishna consciousness movement is determined to open wide the eyes of the so-called leaders who are full of ignorance, and thus save them from the many pitfalls and dangerous conditions of life. That is determined. We have the determination, but it's not easy to be successful to preach to leaders. It's very rare that some leader becomes interested in Krishna consciousness. That the greatest danger is the danger of getting a body lower than that of a human being. But Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, there is no loss or diminution in the practice of Krishna consciousness. And it will protect you from the greatest danger. And that is the greatest danger, to get a body lower than a human being. So that means even if you practice a little amount of Krishna consciousness, the human form of life is guaranteed next life. So we should always be aware of that. We may not be able to convince everyone, that certainly not, but we can engage them a little in devotional service. And at least they get the human form of life. We have so many congregational members, they are not really chanting and so on, but they are pious, they come to give some donations, they do some service. Engage them, that they will get at least the consolation prize of getting again a human body. That because it's with great difficulty that we attain human form. We know that we go to, in previous verse, we heard about this 8,400,000 species, and how we came to the species, finally to the human body of life, after so many bodies, we get the human form of life. And what do we do then? Therefore, Prahlad Maharaj Kamara Achat Pachyo Dharmam Bhagavatamyam Durlavamansyam Bhavyam Tat Yadruvam Artadam. From the young age of 5, one should cultivate devotional service. But it's never too late. Ajamil cultivated devotional service at the end of his life. And he came, although he had performed some devotional service during his youth also. So, therefore, certainly, that was a factor in getting mercy. Because the human form of life, Srila Prabhupada said, is meant to reestablish our relationship with Krishna. That's only possible in the human form of life. It's very difficult in the the demigod's form of life. Too much sense gratification, too much deviation, and in the lower species, no intelligence, you cannot understand. But the human form of life, in the human form of life, we can expand our consciousness to the spiritual level, and that's specific. That is the gift of the human form of life. And if we are not using that, then Prabhupada, when he came in Los Angeles and he arrived there by the car and he saw elderly people playing with balls, he became angry. He said,
Playing golf.
Well,
You saw him playing golf.
Playing golf.
The old man.
Yeah, playing golf. Yeah, today it's becoming very popular also, golf. I was recently in Halifax in the house of Ambarish, and he's surrounded by these golf terrains. And you see everyone going with these little cars with their golf sticks, and they built the whole infrastructure. It's going over the roads. They made bridges, so many, just to play with these balls. But Prabhupada became angry. Why are they losing their time? This is an opportunity. You have the human form of life. So we went again to the purport. We went to the end. Any comments, please? Please. Any corrections? Any suggestions?
Vaishnavas.
Mm-hmm.
I can only speak from my extremely limited realization in this regard, because, a long time ago, I I thought I was very interested in spiritual life. So, by Krishna's mercy, I came in contact with Srila Prabhupada and the Bhagavad Gita, although the Bhagavad Gita came later than Srila Prabhupada. And I started practicing quite enthusiastically for many years. But here I am in relatively old age. And I feel like, that I'm just beginning the journey. I'm just beginning to understand what this journey is about. Before I thought I knew what the journey was about. Now I kind of know that I don't know. I little by little realize what I don't know. And instead of what I should know, I realize more what I don't know. And it seems like an ocean, like you're saying, you were comparing to the Bhavasagara. It seems like an ocean of things that I need to know. And here I am in a situation where my faculties are, diminishing just from old age. Hearing is not so good, seeing is not so good, walking is not so good, so many things. So this warning that fell on deaf ears when I was young, and falls on deaf ears even now. And we run around and we try and we think we're doing service. I did, a lot of service, and we're doing a lot of service, but the service is like a placeholder in some way in order to keep us engaged in Krishna's service, keep us engaged in the process until we start gathering knowledge and developing real knowledge, vigyan, and not just gyan. So, for me, it's a wake up call. Maybe too late. Take 5 or 6 more lifetimes. I'm not sure, or 10 or 1,000. I have no idea. But it's important to heed these kinds of warnings that Prabhupada gives us and that Krishna gives us, because before you know it's much more complicated, and it's even impossible. And okay, we say death could come at any minute, and we all think it never will come. But when you get older, the death could come at any minute line has much more power. There's much more possibility of reality, and but then everything is falling apart, and it's much more difficult. It would have been easier.
Thank you for your comments, Lakshmi Moni. Hemanga Prabhu, please.
Hare Krishna Maharaj pranams. So this translation talks about the achievement of knowledge. Could you also shed some light on the importance of realizing after reading all these books?
Yeah, so that is the point we are discussing now. Like, Mother Lakshmi Moni says, that I feel I'm at the beginning of the journey. That means there is a gap between receiving transcendental knowledge and realizing it. It's not easy to realize it. That to come to the correct practice of devotional service. That because many times our service, we are engaged in service, but our mind is not really with Krishna. And because it's disturbed by so many things, it goes there, here and there, and therefore the door to love of Krishna is still closed. We have to open it, and that is a big challenge. And sometimes Krishna gives us an experience for a short time to um, to encourage us. But of course, the way to turn this jnana into vijnana or realized knowledge is the performance of devotional service. Krishna said, Tesam sata yuktanam bhajanam pratipurvakam dadami buddhyam yogam tam yena mamupyantate. You serve me with little love, pratipurvakam, and I give you the realization that but yeah, the point lies with this little love. We don't know what spiritual love is. But if we follow the instructions of the spiritual master, then Krishna accepts us a little love, and that's our hope. We're trying to follow the instructions of the spiritual master. So it's good to reflect sometimes on your position. But where am I in the devotional service? Therefore, Goswami gives us 9 stages of devotional service, from Shraddha to Prema. Where am I? Am I really in Anartha Nivritti? Anartha Nivritti is the purification of the heart. That's a question. Haridas Thakur said, if one who chants Namabhas is in Anartha Nivritti, that's in Harinam Chintamani. Namabhas means giving up the 10 offenses. But this is a symptom that you make advancement. You get more and more taste in the chanting. More and more taste comes. But this anartha nivritti is an old ocean we have to get over. That is the material ocean. Get over this anartha nivritti. And I remember I was traveling with Prahlad Nanda Maharaj, and we were a kind of pioneers together at the end of the 90s and in the first year of 2000 in the Balkan states. We were traveling together there, and it was very exciting. Maharaj gave a seminar from Shraddha to Prema, and then in private he said to me, he said to me, I'm a Kanista. I'm not yet completely purified. He was very honest with it, and I found that. I was thinking, he's an initiating spiritual master and so on, and he says, yes, I'm not complete. I'm a Kanista, but then I was thinking, okay, he says he's a Kanista, but he is certainly nearly liberated, and I'm still in the beginning. So it's a long process. Mother Lakshmi Moni, you want to comment?
I just was thinking because Prahladananda Maharaj now and I joined in the same place many years ago. And I was thinking now he's saying, or the 90s, he's telling you that he's a Kanishta. But in the beginning, in 1969 or 68, he was telling us that he was a gopi.
So he
Definitely making advances.
came down a little.
It
Because
seems
68.
that the more knowledge we get and really work on, the more that we actually come to that point of thinking that we are, the lowest of the low,
Yeah.
that we are Kanista, that we are, so that anybody who's really truly spiritually advanced won't walk around going, oh, I know everything, I know it all. I'm going to tell you.
Yeah.
And we'll just actually be the real humble servant of the servant of the servant. And that was the magic of Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada served. He just came and served everybody. Even though he had that immense spiritual knowledge, and he gave us that immense spiritual knowledge, at the same time, he really, really went through the world with that service attitude. And that's why everybody loved him.
Yeah, that's true.
Yesterday I was listening to a class. Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada was speaking about the disappearance of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And at the end of the lecture, he started to cry because he said, "You're helping me," talking to his disciples. He said, "You're helping me, and thank you very much." And he started to cry. I couldn't speak anymore. So he ended the class. But whatever Prabhupada did, he was always serving his spiritual master, and he was always serving Krishna, always trying to spread the Krishna consciousness. Devotional service means devotion, not just service.
Yeah. Internal aspect. Thank you for sharing this. It was wonderful to be with you. And
Thank you so much for coming to our little corner of the world, so far away from the birthplace of Lord Chaitanya.
I'm looking forward to serve you all again. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna,
Sai
all glory to
Prabhupada.
Prabhupada, all glories to your service.
Pankakautabhusha Kripasinivevsa Padapavana Vaishnavyo Namah. Prabhupada.